Alright guys, so welcome to this live stream. On today's live stream, I want to address basically a question that I got, and I think it's quite a relevant question for this live stream. And it is about microdosing Dutasteride, and basically if it's even possible to microdose it, and my experience with Dutasteride, as well as what kind of results I was able to get with it. And I want to explore a bit more topic regarding microdosing of Dutasteride as well. So yeah, just dive into it. And basically at the end of the live stream, I will basically check up questions you can ask in the chat, and I can take a Q&A call afterwards. All right. Yeah. So basically today's topic is about microdosing Dutasteride, and basically the thing is with Dutasteride is that I did try the Dutasteride myself back in 2011 for around 4 months, and I want to basically show what happened with my hair, as well as what kind of effect it can compare to finasteride, and basically also talk about if it's a valid solution on how to microdose it from my experience. And the question I got a couple of days ago was basically kind of twofold question. It is about first, do you use finasteride Dutasteride? And second, could you combine finasteride and Dutasteride? And I think those are quite relevant questions that a lot of you may wonder about, and I wanted to kind of answer some on this live stream. And to answer the first question is that I started to use finasteride first for around 2.5 years before I jumped for 4 months on Dutasteride. This is basically my timeline. And then after 4 months of Dutasteride, I switched it back to finasteride and continued with finasteride for basically up until now. And the other thing is that the questions that I also will answer it later is about if one can combine finasteride and Dutasteride, and what could be a possible reason why one should do it, or should one actually consider it in the first place. So, and I was taking Dutasteride 0.5 or one pill 3 times a week, and basically my schedule was as following. Like when I was taking it on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays 3 times a week, and then on Saturday and Sunday I was having basically nothing. So I was just taking 3 times a week for 4 months, and for me basically what happened is that it did work quite well. I will show in the pictures as well afterwards. And here is basically some of the pictures to show you guys. 1 second. Yeah. So basically, this was basically my situation in 2008 before anything, right? So this is how my hair looked like in the front and on the top, and basically diffuse thinning all over the scalp. So. And basically what happened next is that I started with finasteride, and I was able to get those kind of results. Like this was my 7.5 months results. As you can see, very nice improvement. Also color of the hair changed. Then this is around 12 months results, I would guess. And this is around 15 months results, right? And there was some ups and downs in the summertime, wintertime, because or seasonal changes, because my scalp got inflamed a bit from weather change, and it did affect my shedding. So basically, this was I would say like the beginning of the summer of 2010, and it did affect a bit my daily hair shedding, but I was able to gain back a controller situation and gain back more results. And basically, what happened is that I was able to get this kind of results at peak mark of 2010. It was around October 2010 of taking finasteride 24 months at this time. Right? So basically, I went from this guy here to this guy here on finasteride. Right? And basically, what happened next is that I got scalp problems that was quite severe. I started to get yellowish bulbs, and the hairs were falling out. My scalp got very unbalanced, a lot of oily sebums or productions that was going on there, a lot of the dietary problems. I was reacting to the foods, and basically it was kind of very messy time, and I got a lot of scalp problems at that time. And you can see that this is a 2 months difference between those two pictures, and in 2 months basically I was losing ground again, just because of scalp problems. Right? Basically, finasteride become ineffective. And basically what happened next is that I switched to Dutasteride in, it was like end of February 2011. And this was basically my 4 months results of Dutasteride. Right? You can see that quite nice recovery, quite fast. What happened next basically is that I did cut back on Dutasteride for various reasons. Basically, I was kind of concerned about side effects, long-term possible long-term side effects of it, and so I decided to cut back on and get back to finasteride. And like it is like a peak results of the dutasteride after 4 months taking it, but basically you can see the color over here become darker, and I was able to basically to gain back ground again from the hair loss I had previously. And of course, most likely if I did have continued visit, then most likely I would be able to get back to peak performance of finasteride. And here is again one more picture to kind of compare those two pictures. You can basically see that, yeah, I would say the dutasteride results were quite promising for me, and there was most likely more potential regarding situation as I was having. So if I had continued it, most likely I would get even more ground. So, and this was before I started with the minoxidil and microneedling. This is a long time ago. So, all right. And to get back to the presentation, yeah. So basically, what I want to show with this one here is that is it possible to microdose dutasteride? And the thing is, dutasteride is that it has effect on the DHT levels or serum DHT levels for much longer time than finasteride. And this is a kind of old study about DHT rebound minimal after missed dose of DHT blocker, and it is a study from first September of 2004. So it is all a study, but basically it is still very relevant for today. And I'm thinking that a lot of you guys, sorry, a lot of guys are not aware of the study, and I think it will be quite useful to know about it. And basically, what is kind of things that they have tested out is the DHT levels when they compare them to finasteride and dutasteride, and how long time it takes them to go back again if one stops or skips the dose of taking those DHT blockers for 1 week, for example. And regarding, for example, this one here first, basically what happens is that dutasteride patient was taking the dutasteride, and his DHT levels were at 400 plus, and by 28 days his DHT levels dropped to 37, and it's basically 90% drop right from the top to the bottom after 28 days. And with finasteride patients, what happened is basically their DHT levels dropped from 500 to 116, so it is around 73% drop after 24 days of taking it. But what is interesting is basically that after 1 week of stopping these DHT blockers, for the dutasteride guys, what happened is that DHT levels stayed the same, right? They stayed at 38 after 1 week of stopping the treatment, right? But finasteride patients, basically what happened is that their DHT levels start to climb up again, and climbed up to 320, 24, right? So basically it was quite fast back to basically kind of normal levels of DHT that they had periods before they started with treatment. And basically what it does show is that one, for example, could possibly take the dutasteride once a week, for example, and it would still have effect on DHT levels, and it basically would address the DHT problem or DHT angle compared to finasteride that one has to take much more frequently, right? And so my own story is that I did take it 3 times a week, and it is still was a very effective way for me to address DHT angle, right? And it did work very well, and I was able to get very good results. All right, and other things that is more like a side effect, things that I want to take up is that the dutasteride has effect on testosterone, serum testosterone, right? And basically there is a study that I found in quite a quick search from 2009. And basically it shows that the dutasteride has an effect on serum levels of testosterone, and it can be a problem because if, for example, one is having a high testosterone levels to begin with, and one starts to take dutasteride to address DHT, what will happen is basically that testosterone itself can cause hair loss as well. Right? It doesn't have to just be DHT that causes hair loss, but it can also be testosterone. And it can happen basically in those cases when one is having high levels of testosterone to begin with, and one starts to block DHT with dutasteride, and it basically increases them even more, and it affects scalp and causes basically hair loss because of testosterone. So that could be a possible problem, right? And to answer the first question in the presentation about if one could combine finasteride and dutasteride, I would say yes, it would be a possibility. Like, for example, taking once a week dutasteride, right? For those who don't have a high testosterone levels to begin with, and then on other days, for example, take a small amount of finasteride, and there could be one possibility. So, all right, guys, this was basically a quick presentation that I wanted to kind of take up on you. regarding those two questions. So I will check up the chat box and see what you have been asking me. First question is about biotin and zinc. The thing with biotin and zinc is basically how much is them to take. It kind of depends on how much you're getting in this diet, right? Because, for example, biotin shouldn't be that difficult to get from this diet. It is in most foods, it is in eggs, for example, right? So you should be able to get it. And when it comes to zinc, again, you have to be kind of careful with minerals, because if you are having minerals that are kind of too much of them, they can affect basic other minerals on other ratios, and they can cause deficiencies in, for example, if you have too much of zinc, it can cause deficiency in copper. And basically the way I do it, for example, is that I cycle them. Like I take zinc for a couple of weeks and then I stop for some time and then I restart with it again. And I'm careful of checking my diet and seeing what kind of ratios I'm getting regarding minerals from other sources, rather from food sources. So taking just supplements blindly without having kind of structure over it, it can be a problem because it can affect and cause other deficiencies. So. All right. Question about would rapid regrow plan help me to increase the progress if I have been on finasteride since 8 years? I'm next since 2 years. I think finasteride stopped working after 6 years. Yes, most likely, right? Because it basically means that there is some kind of problem in your treatment if the finasteride did stop work for you for 6 years ago. So basically, by implementing strategies and tactics from my workbook, you basically would be able to find and troubleshoot what could be possible issue why you're actually losing ground again and why finasteride stopped working, because it shouldn't be happening. But every time I had a finasteride problems, basically it happened because of other issues that are causing it, and it become less effective. So, question about have you tried Dutasteride in minoxidil liquid solution? No, but again, you can buy nowadays topical Dutasteride, and that's most likely a better option than making your own compounded Dutasteride solution if you want to apply topically, right? Because it is so easy to mess it up, right? And if you make something wrong, then it can affect basically your hair, right? And this is not something, it's not a risk you want to take, right? So basically, it is much better to actually get a commercial viable option and use it instead of making this kind of solution at home, because it is important that you actually get it correctly. So, yeah, I also mentioned that maybe topical Dutasteride has less side effects. Yes, there is some things that may suggest that topical Dutasteride may have less side effects because it doesn't go as systematically as, for example, topical finasteride. Right? So there is a possibility that it may have less side effects. Dutasteride decreased DHT by almost 19%, I guess, and I have established yes, awesome. Question about Markin about what to do combine minoxidil and tretinool cream to boost the effect from minoxidil for non-responder. Yeah, again, you can do that, but tretinool cream is something that can also cause issues. Right? I tried tretinool myself back in 2013. I tried it for a couple of weeks because I wanted to do basically the same, because minoxidil was not giving me the effect I was looking for. But it was basically because of my scalp environment. Right? Another thing is that the tretinool creams that I was using, what happened is that it caused scalp problems for me. It caused a lot of sensitivity. I may have been applying too much of it. That could be bonding, but it was basically a treatment that I decided it was not something I wanted to continue with. But again, like when you are addressing hair loss, we need to kind of test things and check for ourselves. So, for example, you could just take a test area and apply in small test areas without applying it all over the scalp, right? Because if you are unaware or you're kind of first-time user, you're not aware how your skin would react to something, then basically patch this thing in small area first and see how it would affect it. Could be a better option, right? And then if everything is fine, then you could basically increase application area over time. Don't do it like I did by full application all over the scalp. For me, basically it ended up after around 3 weeks of quite sensitive skin and increased scalp problems. Question about have you seen the guys take antibiotics against inflammation? Yes, I have, but the problem is antibiotics, they cannot affect gut health, and they are also not good orally. So basically, we kind of want to find ways to avoid them and use them as little as possible, right? because, for example, every time I have taken antibiotics for other reasons, not because of the inflammation, what has happened is that basically I have increased hair shedding from them. So basically, my suggestion from my own experience is that they can have effect on this hair cycle. So, question about Alex, what do you think about oral minoxidil? I guess okay, you're right. This topical is not working for me. I also it didn't work with, I guess, with testosterone mechanism. Yes, oral minoxidil can be option if you, for example, have scalp problems and you haven't been able to solve them. Then one can consider oral minoxidil, right? Because oral minoxidil has growth factor in it as well, of course. But the problem is possibly more to the side effect profile, right? Because basically what happens when you take oral pill is most likely that it realizes all minoxidil all at once, right? Instead when you apply topically and it has absorption over time. And that can be a problem regarding side effects, right? I have seen some guys, for example, do it by taking small amounts of, for example, oral minoxidil over time, and then slowly building up the amount to basically recommended that is around 2.5 or something. So basically, yeah, if you have scalp problems, oral minoxidil can be option, possibly short term, but I still would prefer topical because topical is applied topically and it kind of feels much safer for me. So, all right. I see a question about, is it normal to lose 4 to 7 hairs a day? Yeah, it kind of depends. Like I would say that it is quite low hair loss. Obviously, if you're just losing 4 to 7 hairs a day, it basically means that your hair growth cycle is in kind of good shape. And it kind of depends also on context when you notice those 4 to 7 hairs. Possibly, let's say if you apply shampoo or on the pillow, or when you kind of comb your hair, it could also be kind of a question because it is quite low hair fall, 4 to 7 hairs. Like I usually lose around 25 hairs on a daily basis. So, but yeah, that's good if you have a low level like this. So. Question about, I'm using 0.5 needles and minoxidil 10%. Is it okay? Yes, as long as your scalp is okay with it, then it's okay, right? But 10% minoxidil is quite strong for inflammation, right? So it can affect your scalp environment, and it can also have side effects. So you have to be kind of careful with it, right? If you're using it. And usually what guys do is they use this kind of strong formulations, is that they use it for a shorter time, and then they switch back to 5% as they are seeing desired results, right? So that's also something to consider. So, but as long as you don't have side effects, I guess it should be okay. What is normal daily dose of dutasteride? It is 0.5 mg or 1 pill. The thing with dutasteride is that it is impossible to cut it, right? Because it's a liquid inside, and it makes it much more difficult to kind of microdose, right? So that's why, like I said in the beginning of the presentation, is that when I was taking showing a study about effect from dutasteride, is that one could possibly take it just once a week and still have good benefits regarding keeping certain DHT levels lower range. So, but normal daily dose is like 1 pill a day. That's kind of answer your question. So, how much time does it take finasteride to stop the hair fall? And that's a kind of question because those are two different ways to address the hair loss or hair loss problem, right? Because when you take dutasteride, you block DHT, and usually to stop the hair loss, if it's caused by DHT, it usually takes around 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks to see effect from finasteride or DHT blocker. And when it comes to minoxidil, it can take basically from 2 to 8 weeks before one starts to notice decrease in hair fall of minoxidil application. Right? And if you do combination of them, then basically they can interfere with each other, and it can take possibly a bit longer in some cases. And that's why I kind of suggest always to start with DHT blocker first to make sure that the hair are strong and the hair cycle is strong before starting with minoxidil. Right? And this is basically how I did it as well. So one avoids unnecessary hair shedding. Question about scalp masks. Do you feel they help to regrow and maintain hair? Yes, scalp masks can help to address different scalp problems, right? Like we talking about previously. So basically, if you are having issues, for example, that require to apply masks, then it can help you to strengthen hair follicles. It can help you to address underlying problems in your scalp and rebalance it. So I would say scalp masks has always for me at least, has always been an important part of the treatment. So, question about I have dandruff, can I use 0.5 needles? Yes, you can, but again, dandruff is not optimal. So you, like if it's a dandruff caused by needles that you roll over your scalp, so basically it means that possibly you need to kind of take a bit more breaks, right? Because maybe your scalp gets too much mic needling on it, and what happens is that because of it, it makes the skin dry and causes dandruff, right? So you have to kind of troubleshoot and find out what could be possible cause of it and what could possibly be the problems that is causing the dandruff in the first place. Yes. All right, guys. If there is no more questions, we end for today. And for you guys who want to have a session with me or my team, you can schedule over. This link here as well. There is possibly few more questions here that came up. From Marcin, it is okay to add ECLT to your minoxidil. I'm actually not familiar with that one. I can check it quickly up soon. Is it like amino acids to it? It looks like basically from quick search I got here. Again, as long as it doesn't affect minoxidil negatively, so it possibly can be one way to do it. No. Like I said, I'm not familiar to adding amino acids to minoxidil, so I cannot say answer to some questions. All right. Let's say, for example, the next one is about oral minoxidil 2 mg for 7 months with good results, but still need to grow more on temples. My dog wanted to put on 3 mg, but I chose to keep 2 mg and not temples. Do you think it's a good idea? As I understood, basically you want to add a topical minoxidil to your temples and keep 2 mg on oral. Yes, it can be possibly a good combination, right? So basically you address it from kind of 2 different angles, right? As long as you don't have side effects from oral, so it should be fine. So, right? Question about head and shoulders is not to fight inflammation in the scalp because it against the sodium on zinc acid. Like again, head and shoulders is quite harsh shampoo, so I don't like it. My hair also don't like it, and I don't use it. So, but if your scalp is okay with it, then I guess it can be a one way to address dandruff angles. Yes. All right, guys. That was all. And yeah, thanks for attending for today. And basically, speak next time. Have a nice one. Cheers.